All right, so I'm going to share the link in one more group. I'm going to refill my water, and then we'll be ready to go. As it is 11:59. Tell you what, we'll switch to the other view so you can see my face while I'm sharing this. Hello, hello. So I'm sharing this. Noon. There it is. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are making an American IPA Brewer's Best extract kit today. First step. Get your kettle filled with some water. This stock pot holds 4 gallons. Right now it has a little bit less than 3, like about 3 gallons in it right now. That's all we're gonna need. So if you don't already have your water filled, go get your water filled, because in 2 minutes I'm turning on that gas and we are gonna get it up to temperature. You have 2 minutes. Go get it filled. Otherwise you can catch up whenever you're ready. So once we get our water going, then we'll start talking about all the equipment that we need. All right, create public post live right now. I'm brewing a Brewer's Best extract kit. So you can get started in home. Nope, don't. This is the wrong audience for that phrase. I'm brewing a Brewer's Best extract kit in real time. Post the link and post. All right, so you're filling your water. Good. You got your thermometer? Let's get rid of Facebook. Let's get rid of Twitter. We're gonna let the computer handle nothing but streaming. I'll do all the chatting on my phone. All right. Buffering is no good, so hopefully it fixes itself here. Nope. I gotta tell you, it doesn't look too bad on my phone right now. How many seconds is it behind? I gotta tell you, it doesn't look too bad. Okay, it's a couple of seconds behind. On my phone right now. How many seconds is it behind? I gotta tell you, it doesn't look too bad. Okay, it's a couple of seconds. We're just gonna get into a loop. That's what we're gonna do. All right, here's what we're doing. I'm getting rid of that. Computer, all it has to do is handle this. Ready? So everybody, let's turn on our water. We're on. We're going. We're live. We're doing this. We're making ourselves an American IPA extract kit. Now, it might take a little bit different for your kettle to get up to temperature, as mine does. But we're going to do our best to follow along with everything. So let's take a look at the instructions that come with the Brewer's Best American IPA kit. And as I'm doing that, I'll let you know the thought process I had when I thought, let's do this live stream. Let's do this together. The first couple of brews that I did, they were extract kits exactly like this. And this was years and years and years ago. And I started it myself, right? I did a couple of all grain. My first couple of all grain batches were with other people, which is absolutely the way you want to go. But I did this one alone. And you don't know what you don't know when you do it alone. So I thought if you wanted to grab the kit and follow along with this video, we could do it together. So the Brewer's Best kits come with instructions. And here we are. If you had any of your Brewer's Best kit refrigerated, like the yeast, if you put it in the refrigerator before today, you want to take that out so that when we pitch it later, it's not cold, it's room temperature. Now this water right here came filtered water. I filled up about 3 gallons. And the other water I bought, it's in 3-gallon containers of spring water, and they are in the fridge. Okay, those are cold. They've been in the fridge overnight because those are going to help us cool the wort when we're done with this. Now, brew day. This is important. We want to fill in our notes. So today is May 31st. I'm wrong. Today is May 30th. Happy Memorial Day weekend, but it is not Memorial Day. So we're writing in our brew day. Date 5/30/21. So this is the day that I'm doing it. If you are brewing for the first time, write down batch 1 on here. Batch 1. I wish I remembered how many batches I had because I take notes, but sometimes I forget. There's been a couple of brews where I've just thrown some stuff together just because I wanted something around the house, like, oh, I'll try this. And then there's other brews where my notes got soaked afterwards and I ended up throwing them out and not copying them. So I'm not exactly sure exactly what brew I'm on. So it says, encoder overloaded. Consider turning down video quality. Encoder overloaded. I don't know, it looks good down there. Looks good. What else is taking up my power here? Whatever. All right, everyone. I'm going to pull up and see if we have any comments. 2 people watching. Awesome. Good. No comments yet. That's good. If you have comments, probably the best place to do it is on Twitter. Twitter.com/WNYBrews. Because that one reloads so much quicker for me. Anyhow, so yeah, Twitter.com/WNYBrews. Let's see what we need to get our temperature to. So it says thoroughly clean and sanitize all brewing equipment and utensils. We're going to do that, but right now, certain things don't actually need to be sanitized yet, but they do need to be clean. So all of your things need to be clean. If you bought a kit, you might just want to rub a clean sponge over them with some baking soda rather than with dish soap because we don't want any oils on there. Steep grains, here it is. So pour 2.5 gallons of clean water into your brew pot and begin to heat. Pour crushed grains into a grain bag and tie a loose knot at the top. When the water is within the appropriate steeping temperature, approximately 150 to 165, place the grain bag into the brew pot. Steep grains for approximately 20 minutes. Now for this, I'm going to keep it closer to 150 than to 165. And then we're going to let it steep for 20 minutes. Thermometer. Let's talk thermometer. I have a dial thermometer on here. Dial thermometers, depending on the kit, the equipment kit that you purchased or you were put together at the homebrew shop when you picked this up, depending on the kit, you either ended up with a dial thermometer, which is my recommendation, or you ended up with a long glass thermometer, which I don't even have here and I would not recommend, because any glass breaks in this at all, you throw it out. Right? Right. So Here's my thermometers here. Small dial thermometer is fine. Okay, a large dial thermometer, this is nice because I don't have to dip it in. I can just leave it there and watch it. I have a thermopen, just any kind of food thermometer as long as it's clean. Now, let's say all you have, we'll pretend that this is a glass thermometer. Anything glass today that you're going to use, we're not putting directly in. If you want to use a glass thermometer in this right now, I want you to get a bag so that any part of the thermometer is inside the bag. Any part of the thermometer that hits the water. And the water is going to push the air out. You're still going to get a fairly accurate reading. But that way, if the glass breaks, you don't get those chemicals and you don't get the glass in your wort. So again, we're going for about 150 degrees. Right now, I'm already at 90. So let's take a look at what else we have in the kit. So people that are just joining us now, we are preheating our water. We're doing that so that we can steep our grains. And we're going to take a look at what's inside the Brewer's Best equipment right now. Good, we've been live for 11 minutes. Let me check up on here and see if we have any comments. One watching, it's you and me, one person watching. Again, if you want to comment, the best place to do so would be on Twitter, twitter.com/WNYBrews. So our kit, let's bring it over here. Our kit includes Cascade, Chinook. Is that correct? Is it supposed to include 3? Yep, 2 packs of Chinook, 1 pack of Cascade. All right. Set aside our hops here. We have priming sugar. This is not for today. This is going to be for bottling when we actually bottle. So let's set that aside. This is also for bottling. We have caps. We have some crushed caramel malt. That's 30 Lovabond. That is the color. Crushed biscuit malt. Ooh, that is really crushed there. Holy cow. Look at the crush on that. We have our yeast, which again, you need to take out of the refrigerator if you've put it in there. So we have it out here with us now. We have our grain bag. Okay. Then we have some DME, which is dry malt extract, and we have some LME, which is liquid malt extract. All right. We have light liquid malt extract. We have light. So we have 2 light and 1 light DME. Let's see. 6.5 pounds of light LME and 1 pound of light DME. We are good. We have everything that we needed. Have a little coupon here? Nope. Just other ingredient recipes. Fun. Okay. We have everything we need. Our next step, when this gets up to about 150 degrees, is we're going to put the crushed biscuit malt and the crushed caramel malt inside of our grain bag. And then we're going to put that in here and let it steep for 20 minutes. So we've got some time here. And check my comments. I'm going to refill my water, come back, and let you know where I am here. I'm already at 100 degrees, so we only have 50 more degrees to go. Refilling my water. You know what? Turn the camera around so you can see this. So I have ice, lime juice, and then behind me, over here, hold on, there we are. You see the succulent. Take a look. We have 2 taps over there. Right tap is sparkling water right now. Left tap. Welcome back to the stove. All right, left tap, sparkling water. Right tap, sparkling water, always. Always sparkling water on the right tap. Helps us to drink a lot more water during the day just to have sparkling water. Plus, it makes things like gin and tonics super easy. Gin, a little bit of tonic syrup, and just fill it up at the tap. It's amazing. Then over here on the left tap, this is a homemade sparkling seltzer. The seltzer. Strawberry lemonade. Let's see, strawberry, lemonade, and berry. Hard seltzer on the left side. Now, the general rule for this when you're brewing is don't drink yet. If you're going to have a drink while you're brewing, the general rule that I found helped me, because especially right at the beginning, I would just start drinking as soon as I would start brewing. And sometimes, I mean, brewing an extract, this is going to be less than 4 hours, but brewing all grain, you know, it can get up to 7 hours, 8 hours, depending on your system and what you got going. And you don't realize it, but you end up pretty drunk at the end, and that's when mistakes happen. So, we are not going to drink yet. We're going to wait until the boil. Because once you get to the boil, you have an hour and then chilling. That's it. Right? An hour and then cool down, and you're ready to go. So we're at 110 degrees. Where are you? Are you close to 110 degrees? If you're not watching this live, which is most of the views that this video will ever get, because there's one person watching with me right now. If you're not watching this live, you can obviously pause if you need to. There's 0 people watching. That's okay. I'm still brewing the beer. I'm still talking as if people are watching, because again, right now, 100% of the people who watch this part will be watching afterwards. So let's keep going. Our grain bag here. When we put in our crushed biscuit malt and our crushed caramel malt into this, we are going to get a lot of dust. Just coming right out of this. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to open this up. Okay, we're going to bring it all the way down to the bottom like it's a sock, and we're going to put on the sock. Okay, then we're going to put the grain bag right in here, cut it open, pour it in while we're holding it, like flip it upside down in here, while we're holding it over this so that anything gets in there, okay? Then, when we're done, we will fold this back into a sock and place it in here. Now, why don't we need to sanitize this? Because everything we're doing right now is pre-boil. Okay, we never completely get sterile in home brewing, right? We just get sanitized, which sterilizing is getting rid of all the microorganisms, all the germs, all of everything, and so it is completely sterile. That's sterilizing. Sanitizing, which is what we do, is to bring anything below a safe level for healthy humans, right? That's sanitization. Sanitizing, something is sanitary when there's nothing dangerous in it, or there's not enough to be dangerous. And a boil for an hour is really going to take care of that. Now the question is, do you need an hour boil? And the actual answer, if you're doing something with extract like this, is no. You don't actually need to boil the extract for an hour. But since we have hops going into this, and we're doing 1 ounce of Chinook, boil 20 minutes, 1 ounce of Chinook, boil 20 minutes, and then 1 ounce of Cascade, boil 20 minutes. Since we want the hop utilization to be correct for the recipe, we do have to boil it for an hour, because that's how long the hop schedule is in this. And the way it's written here is add 1 pack Chinook, boil 20. That's going to be the bittering hops. add 1 ounce of Chinook, boil 20. That's going to be generally this type of a profile would be bittering those hops. You're going to get the most amount of IBUs out of the international bittering units, the most amount of IBUs because it's the longest time. So those are your bittering hops. Then the second one are generally called your flavor hops. Okay, but you're still getting IBUs, you're still getting bitterness out of it. And then the last ones are generally called your aroma hops. Now, most IPAs that I've made in the past couple of years have moved all of these hops way back in the schedule, sometimes not throwing in any hops until the Whirlpool. But this is going to be a traditional India Pale Ale, like West Coast style. We call this 60-40-20 because we throw them in at 60 minutes left in the boil, 40 minutes left in the boil, and 20 minutes left in the boil. All right? All right. So again, we are keeping track. Our brew day, because we want notes, we want to keep track. Our brew day today, 5:30. I started at noon. Okay? So, begin to heat 1. That's at noon. It's currently 12:20, and we are at 130 degrees. We want another 20 degrees, and then we'll steep our grains in there. Gave a little stir. All right. I don't see any comments on YouTube. Let's see on the Twitters. No. And then on the Facebooks? Any comments on the Facebooks? And no. So we are doing good right now. So we have a lot of time to talk. Since I don't see any questions, I'll just continue saying what we've got going on here. So this Brewer's Best equipment comes with some light extract. So the water that you're using for this generally is going to be fine. Your tap water at your house, if it's acceptable for drinking, if you know the water at your house isn't like terrible, then it's probably fine. If it is terrible, you should probably go and get some spring water. But we are not going to be adding any water salts to this because we're doing this as if you are, I'm turning down my thing so I stop shouting, sorry. We're going to be doing this as if this is your very first brew, you just bought a kit, you just bought an equipment kit, and you don't have anything else on hand. If I were doing this recipe just on my own, I might throw a little gypsum into here for the hop, kind of add some brightness to the IPA at the end. But today I'm just using my tap water. I did filter it through an RV filter because we have a camper and that's what I use. You could, although I don't see people ever doing this, you could, with liquid malt extract, use distilled water, which has nothing in it. Because when they make the liquid malt extract, they are making a wort. Okay, they are doing exactly what we're doing with the grains. They are making a wort, and then they are slowly removing the water from it. Not too quickly because they don't want to cause the color change in here, but they are removing the water from it until it's a thick syrup, which means everything else that was in their water too is in here. You already have brewing salts in here, in this concentrate. So basically, you're just rehydrating it. We are not using distilled water for 2 reasons. One, because let's assume that your tap water and spring water is easier to get than distilled water. And 2, because we are steeping grains. And we do want some minerals in there for when we do so. What are we at? 140. Based on the time, I think in another 4 or 5 minutes, we'll be ready to steep some grain in there. And when we hit that, we will spend 25 minutes total. When we hit that, we're going to turn down the heat a little bit so that it doesn't keep just climbing steadily. And we can hold it for 20 minutes at 150 to 165. Again, I want to try to keep it down closer to 150. All right. You know what I don't like? Nice. I don't like that right now in my Brewer's Best kit, it did not come with oh, nice. Sorry. It does not come with a second bag for the hops. So they're saying here, as I'm reading this instructions, it says to just throw the hops directly into the wort. I don't think we're going to do that. So here's what we're going to do instead. No. Well, no, we're boiling it for 20 minutes. That's not going to add much more after that. So, no. That's not what we're going to do. We are going to use the grain bag for the grain. Then we're going to rinse out that grain bag at the sink. Then we're going to use that grain bag again for the hops so that we can easily remove the hops at the end. Because we're boiling it for 20 minutes anyway. It's not like the hop matter afterwards is going to be adding a whole lot to our beer by letting it sit in the fermenter. All it's going to be doing is making it more difficult to work with later. So yeah, nope. We could use a siphon, which came in the kit, and then siphon the wort out of here. But you know what? I think it's easier to just use a hop bag. Let's see where we are. Got 148, 150-ish. We are good to start moving on this. So, got my grain bag, which will be our hop bag. So there. And we're going to take our malts here. Good, and just like I explained how we were going to do it, going to open up our bag. Good, I opened it up just a little bit to let the malt trickle down there and give us an easier area to cut. All right, put the bag over the top of the, there we are, grain bag over the top. Tip the whole thing upside down. Oh yeah, see it coming out? Now I accidentally lost my grip on it, which is why it fell down like that. Let's roll it back up. There we are. Now see all that dust, instead of that dust ending up on my counter, it ended up in the wort. All right, because I accidentally dropped it, we're gonna have to do this gingerly. Ah, left-handed scissors. Ned Flanders, where are you? Okay. I can tell I have grain dust on my shirt already. Gotta tell you, if letting go of my grip is the worst mistake we have on a brew day, that would be awesome. I'm sure we'll figure out something else. There we are. Good. to tie a little knot on here because we absolutely do not want this to open up in there because getting the grain out would be very difficult. There. Yep, we are high 150s. So I turned down the heat. What I'm doing right now is I'm getting the grains wet. I'm going to use the brew paddle and make sure that it's all broken up in there, that we're not ending up with any dry spots. What I don't want is to have a dough ball in the middle of this. So there, I just played with it a little bit. Good. All right. Gonna hold it out here. Gonna tie it onto the edge so that it's not resting on the bottom because we don't want anything to burn. Make sure I can get my paddle underneath it. I tell you, I still don't think I can. So again, what am I doing? I am lifting it off the bottom of the pot. There we are. So that the bottom of this bag doesn't scorch on the bottom of the pot. Good enough. All right, temperature is high 150s. So, oh yeah. There's grain dust on my stove. 12:30. 12:30 is when we steep the grains, so we're throwing that in 12:30. Here, I'll write it down on the bottom here. 12:30 grains. So at 12:50, we're going to start cranking up the heat, bringing this to a boil. Let's check some things here. Interesting. Kind of like that idea. All right. Where are we? Twitter. Any comments on Twitter? Again, if you want to talk to me, the best way to do it is on Twitter because it updates so quickly. Good. Let me check on YouTube and see if anyone has any comments. Any questions to answer? 3 watching right now. I don't think so. I don't see any comments. Love it. All right. So, what I'm going to do right now, and what I'm going to do a lot throughout the day, is kind of clean up a little bit and make sure that we're ready for our next step. Grain dust. This spray that I'm using, water and vinegar. That's all it is. Do you need water and vinegar for this? Nope. It's just a cleaner we use at the house. And it's what we have ready to go. Anytime we can use something that's not a detergent, we do. You don't always need detergents on everything. Baking soda, vinegar do a great job. All right. Clean up this area too. Again, I don't like that we didn't get a hop bag, but they only gave us a grain bag. Well, it is what it is, huh? So this is our first of 20-minute countdowns. Hey Google, set a timer for 18 minutes.
18 minutes, starting now.
All right. Good. I wish I could be putting on music right now, but if I did, YouTube would flag my video. So we can't have music on. Although normally on my brew days, I have a Pandora station that I call Brewing, and it's got a lot of good music on it, and I just listen to my music and go. It's got Johnny Cash and Roy Orbison and a lot of classic rock. I know Johnny Cash and Roy Orbison are not classic rock, but it does. So, now we're just waiting. Check your temp. If you are doing this at home with me, you have 15 minutes right now if you need to go do something. I mean, you're going to want to keep checking on your temperature, but otherwise, you've got some time. You don't have to babysit your pot the entire time. Okay. We're a little bit over 160, which is much higher than I wanted, but it's all right. I just turned down the burner again. We're not to a point of no return. We're at 160. So these grains right now, we're not actually looking for the starch, the sugar extraction out of this. We're not looking to get the sugars, the fermentables, out of these grains. These grains are mostly for color and flavor. The fermentables are going to be from the liquid malt extract and the dry malt extract. That's going to provide, let's see, the starting gravity of this. The starting gravity of this is meant to be between 1061 and 1065, and that's how people will say it, but it's 1.061, and that is the amount of dissolved sugars into the water, because water has a specific gravity of 1.000. So we want to get to a specific gravity of 1.061 to 1.065. And we're going to measure that at the end, and I'll show you how to use the hydrometer when we do that. And then, when we're done fermenting this, we're going to want to be between 1014 and 1017, again written as 1.014 or 1.017, and we can calculate the amount of alcohol in that through an equation, or you can look up a tool online or a calculator. But it says here we're looking for an ABV of approximately 5.75% to 6.25%. So right at about 6% is what we're looking for on this beer. All right. Ugh. Yep. Again, I'm gonna try to follow these instructions as best as I can. There's at least 2 things I'm reading right now that I want to change. On top of the grain bag being used as a hop bag, we're gonna do that too. And I have a better idea for that too, so when we get there, we'll do that. All right, our timer, we have about another 13 minutes steeping our grains. Just giving it a stir. Giving it a stir. Good. All right. It will say remove grain bag and without squeezing, but allow the liquid to drain back into the brew pot. And when I do this outside, when I used to do this in the garage, I would actually use a winch and just hold the bag above the pot. Right now, we're just gonna hold it up. Suppose I could get like a video tripod and put the tripod over the top of this and create like a derrick and lift it out that way and let it drain. We're just gonna hold it. I mean, how much was that? That was 1.5 pounds of grain. 1.5 pounds of grain. And of course it's going to soak up some water, but it's going to be fine. Yep. So the grains should not be compacted inside the bag. That's why I poked it with the pedal. Pay careful attention not to let your steeping water right now exceed 170 degrees, which it's not. It's dropped below 160 again. Because I have the, like, that's not even on a simmer right now. Just really, really low. They'll run the canisters of LME under hot water to allow the extract to pour easy. Man, when we're talking extract, the LME and the DME are going to be the roughest part of this entire thing. Oh, this super important that we didn't talk about yet. It says here, when consumed, hops can cause malignant hyperthermia in dogs, sometimes with fatal results, even with small amounts, including spent hops when we're done with the hops. So please, if you have dogs, keep them away from your hops. Beforehand, afterwards, if they get into the hops, you want to get them medical attention immediately. Let's see what else they have in the brew tips here. To avoid bacteria growth, do not add ice directly to the wort. Yeah, don't do that. Alton Brown did that on an episode of Good Eats. Don't do that. Don't add ice directly to the wort. Be careful not to add a volume of water that will cause the wort to fall outside of the OG range specified in the brew stats. Sure. Well, we're bringing it to approximately 5 gallons. And as long as we're bringing it to approximately 5 gallons, we're going to hit our OG. Okay, we're going to hit that range because we're using extract. We're using dry malt extract and we're using light malt extract, liquid malt extract. Because we're using extract, we can practically guarantee we're hitting our specific gravities here. Okay? Here's a third thing we're gonna change. Two-stage secondary fermentation. Brewers Best recommends homebrewers employ a practice of a 2-stage fermentation. This will allow your finished beer to have more clarity and an overall better, purer flavor. All you need is a 5-gallon carboy, drilled stopper, airlock, and siphon setup to transfer the beer. You will also need to monitor and record the SG with your hydrometer when the beer is in the primary. Does putting your beer in a secondary make it clearer? Not necessarily. Does putting your beer in a secondary get it off of the yeast? Sure. But we're not going to be leaving it on the yeast for months and months. Especially with an IPA like this, we want to get it fermented. We want to give it time to finish its fermentation for sure. We don't want to rush fermentation. But we also want to get it bottled quickly. We don't want to let an IPA sit around. That's how things go bad. Now, doing a secondary also introduces a whole nother vessel into this setup, and a racking cane, a siphon, and tubing, and everything else that needs to be sanitized. To put it into a secondary, you risk contaminating your beer for something that really doesn't provide that much of a difference, if any noticeable difference at all. So we are not going to be doing a secondary. We're going to be skipping that completely. So that's here's the ABV calculation, so we can find out exactly how much our ABV is. It is your OG minus your FG times 131.25 and equals your percentage. About 6 minutes left. In 6 minutes, this thing actually starts happening. Right now, we're just steeping. In 6 minutes, we start brewing, I suppose. So, our liquid malt extract, you could think of it like a molasses, like a thick syrup. Not a maple syrup, a thick syrup. So we want to get those warmed up, and I'm just going to use hot water at the house here, which comes out at about 130 degrees. How do I know that? Because I sous vide steak in it all the time, and it's perfect for medium rare. And if it wasn't perfect for medium rare, I would change our hot water tank to where it is. Because holy cow, why wouldn't you? That way, if you don't have a sous vide stick, all you have to do is use your hot water right off the tap. And of course, you have your steak in a vacuum sealed bag or a Ziploc bag, and you put it in there. And then all you have to do is refresh the water every once in a while, temp it, make sure you're at about 129, 130 degrees, and keep your steak there for an hour, and then sear it, and it's the best steak you've ever had. All right, let's see if 2 of these cans fit in this one container. Oh, they do. It's so nice. Look at this. All right. So now I'm just going to fill this up with hot water and let these sit in there, because hot liquid malt extract flows a lot better than cold liquid malt extract. I'm going to put a towel down underneath that. Right here. Right here. So you can see it. So it can be part of this. Let my hot water run for a second. Ooh, it smells good. My wife is not a huge fan of the smell of home brewing. She doesn't hate it though. She just doesn't like it like I like it. Like, holy cow. If you could smell this right now, it's awesome. Oh yeah. All right. So if you can't see me right now, I'm filling up my pot with hot water with the liquid malt extract cans in there so that they're warm, so that when it's time to dump them in, they're ready to go. I can do it via pitcher too. Now, oh, beautiful. Oh yeah, I mean, it is filled to the brim right now. Perfect. Time, we are so close to ready on this. Let's check who's watching. It's only been 48 minutes, guys. Can I tell you how good of a mood brewing puts me in? Like, I know everybody has their hobbies, and this is my hobby, and I mean, look, I'm wearing a shirt. I like filming myself doing stuff because I apparently am just egotistical enough to enjoy doing this. But man, brewing itself, just alone, I don't care. I don't care if I'm with somebody or doing this. This puts me in such a good mood. It's not about the beer. I mean, I like beer a lot. Okay, but you can go out and buy really good beer. In Buffalo here, we have over 30 amazing breweries. We have at least 5 terrible breweries. That was a joke. That was a joke. We have over 30 like really good breweries around here. We are not hurting for good beer. And you know what? If you're starting home brewing right now, it's going to take you a little bit to make good beer. That's just the way it is. Just like anything. It's not like a math concept which you can just get right? There are concepts for sure in brewing, but it's also a skill. It also takes practice because you don't want to make all sorts of mistakes. You want to get your system dialed in so that you know what you're doing every time, so that even if you do make small little errors, you can get everything back. Anyway, point I'm making is it's not about the beer so much. It's about the process. And man, this is just fun. It smells great. Doing something. It is a beautiful day outside. It's sunny. If you do this in your garage, that was some of the best times until winter here in Buffalo. That's why I use a Grainfather and a RoboBrew right now so that I can brew in the basement. And I'm redoing my basement brewery area right now. So as soon as that's done, I'll do a video about the redo. I'm making a new exhaust system that's in the garage right now, and it's just out of wood. I mean, I wish I had the $800 to spend on a brewery hood for the size of my area, which is small. Wish I had the money to do it, but I don't. So instead, I used some wood that I already had, and I painted the inside of it with some Flex Seal so that it would be waterproof. And I need that to dry, and then I'm just building a box and putting a fan out the glass block window in the basement and getting the steam out of there. I have been using a range hood up until now, but you know what? It doesn't work very well. The water condensates right onto the fan itself. It just doesn't pull enough to get it out, rather than letting it condensate right on and drip right back down. So I'm gonna stop my timer here rather than let it go off. I wonder if it's still on my phone. We'll see. Point is, we're about to turn this up. All right, so cranking the heat. We are bringing it to a boil. It is 1250. There's our grains. I'm not in a rush. It says not to squeeze this. The thinking being that you will introduce tannins into your wort, which is a flavor you don't want. Another good reason not to squeeze it is because it's really hot. And the last good reason not to squeeze it is because, again, you're not looking for fermentables out of this. You're going to get a little bit, but this is color and flavor, okay? You're not worried about efficiency right now. There's color and flavor in there right now. Most of your flavor, oh, it smells so good. Most of your flavor on this IPA you're going to want coming from the hops anyway, right? That biscuit malt is going to add a nice flavor to it too. So you know how I said, I want to reuse this bag for the hops. And I said, we'll dump out the grains and then wash out the bag. Nope. I'm going to put this over the garbage can. There's no reason for you to have to look at my garbage can. So I'm going to explain what I'm about to do, and then I'll go do it. I'm going to hold this, just like this, over my garbage can. I'm going to cut it right here, let all the grain fall out, just into the garbage can, and I'm going to come back, tie a knot, and we have a whole second bag. Like, look at how much we would have left. Look at this. We're going to use that for the hops. All right? All right. My dripping is practically done. However, so I don't have to clean the floor. All right. Cutting the bag. 3, 2, 1. Oh, what a wonderful day. That was it. It literally went as perfectly as I just said. The grain fell right into the garbage. It's ready to go out. Our hop bag is ready to be used. tie a knot on the end here. There we are. Our hop bag is ready. They didn't give us one. We have one now. I did drip once or twice, so I'm going to spray that down with my vinegar solution and wipe that down. Hey, the vinegar solution that I'm using, the vinegar and water, we are not using on any of the brewing equipment. Okay? This solution here is just general household kitchen cleaner that we use here at the house. The brewing equipment, we're going to be using Star Sand. We'll talk about that in a minute. I didn't want to get people confused. We're not using this on brewing equipment. This is to wipe the floor just now because I dripped some and I don't want ants. Okay. There we are. I didn't drip a lot. Excuse me. All right. We are at 175 already. This is great. Everything is going well. Knock on wood. Wood. That's actually wood. This probably isn't. Give it a stir. Now, some of the ingredient kits that I see, the equipment kits, will come with a metal spoon. And when I'm brewing, normally I use a metal spoon. But this is what came with my original kit. 2012, 9 years ago, when I first started brewing. This right here, this is a new version of it. Not version, but this is a new one. So it doesn't have all the stains that my old one did. But I couldn't actually find my old one. I'm sure I threw it out years ago because I used a metal spoon. But I have extra equipment kits that I've picked up over the years for various reasons. And one of them still had their brew paddle. So I'm using the same one that I assume you would be using if this is your first brew ever. That's the point. All right. Let me get my spoon holder again. We are at 180 degrees. Now remember, if you are using a glass thermometer, if your kit came with a glass thermometer, I want you to wrap it in a plastic bag first before dipping it in here, like a Ziploc bag. Because if it breaks into your wort, your brew day is done, right? You're not serving that to anybody. Even if it's like, oh, it's non-toxic. The chemicals in there are non-toxic, which I have no idea. I doubt they are. But even if, you will never serve somebody something that glass broke into, right? So glass thermometer, get rid of it. Get yourself a dial thermometer. All right. Or, hold on. You can get yourself a temperature controller, for sure. Or, let's see, ThermoWorks makes this for smokers. It has 2 probes, one for smoker temperature and one for meat temperature. However, they also have this attachment for it. Wait for it. It's in my smoker drawer, and my smoker drawer is not as organized as other drawers. That's the smoker one, and the meat one, and the brewing one. Where's the brewing one? Did I move it? I swear it's in here. Hold on. Ah, there it is. Okay. The brewing probe. Look at that. Yep. Put it right in here just like that and attach it, and then you could have it via Wi-Fi around your house or via Bluetooth, and you can keep track of your temperature from wherever you are. All right. Put that away. Put my smoker utensils away. Check to see if we have any comments in the chat. Hey, all right, Big Dog Brewing. Thank you. Hello. I gotta follow you guys. You got a Twitter? Can I follow you guys on Twitter? I'll look it up. So I'm on the Twitters right now. Let me let you know what my temperature is at. So, temperature in the kettle right now, it's 188. It's not rising quite as quick as it was before. That's all right. So here's what we're going to do, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. We are going to get this to a boil, then turn off the heat, okay? Because we don't want to scorch anything. We're going to turn off the heat as soon as this hits a boil. We're going to slowly dump in our DME and our LME and mix those in. And then once they are completely dissolved, we're going to bring it back up to a boil. As soon as it hits the boil that second time, that's when we add our first dose of Chinook hops. Okay, then we start our 60-minute timer and we open a beer. That's what happens. Family's back. Hey, you're doing good.
Oh, good.
Smells good, right?
It does.
So it's 1 o'clock. It's been 1 hour. And we are just rolling right now. Not rolling boil, but just rolling through this process. I was expecting today to be between 12 and 4. And knock on wood, again, this may come in as a 3-hour brew day instead. Depending on how much longer it takes to get a temp right now, if we can get this boiling by 1:30, and we can take care of chilling in half an hour, which we're going to try to do, we can be done by 3 today. We're going to keep cleaning as we go, so that when we're done, we don't have to spend hours cleaning. Now, chilling. We're not quite ready, obviously. We are hours away from cooling this wort. But today, we are going to use an ice bath in the sink to chill down this and aerate the wort at the same time. You'll see when we get there. Then, we're going to use our refrigerated spring water directly into the fermenter to try to bring this down into the mid-60s. Okay? I think they suggest 68 degrees for fermenting. Let's see. (64 to 72). So yeah, they suggest approximately 68 degrees. So we're going to try to bring ours down to about 68 degrees. Everything that happens at that point has to be sanitized. So as soon as we are done getting our DME and LME dissolved into here, bringing it back up to a boil, as soon as that happens, we're going to make up a spray bottle of Star San. Okay, that is a sanitizing solution that we're going to use to sanitize all of our equipment. And we're going to do so right inside the fermenter. Why not just fill up the whole fermenter? My first couple of times brewing, the day would start by pouring in an ounce of Star San and filling it with 5 gallons of water, and then using that bucket of Star San to sanitize everything. Which is great, but you really don't need that much. You don't need 5 gallons of Star San to sanitize everything for 1 brew day. And you can reuse it, but you're supposed to make up a new batch every time, as per 5 Star Chemicals website. So I know people are going to say, no, you can keep it as long as, I know, but, and it's true, but we're following the directions today. And as per 5 Star Chemicals website, they say very specifically it should be mixed every time. So that's what we're going to do. And we're not going to waste 5 gallons of it. We're going to make 1 gallon of it and then pour it into a 24-ounce spray bottle. Maybe even less than 1 gallon. We'll see. Let's check our temp. We're at 200. Oh, it's exciting. Okay. Can you tell? Can you tell it puts me in a good mood? I'm like, literally, I'm like... even if nobody's watching, I'm having fun. Let's have fun. Okay, I'm not seeing any comments anywhere. That's what I'm checking. Checking comments on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. Oh, that's right, I was looking up Big Dog Brewing. Looking up Big Dog so I can follow them. On the Twitters. Big Dog Brewing. No. Yes, but... Alright, I'm going to look into this more after this. So later today, it's been 1 hour and 6 minutes. That's where we are right now. Later today, the wife and I, we have friends coming in from out of town. Haven't seen them in years. Coming in from out of town. Everybody's vaccinated. We are going to a brewery right on the water here in Buffalo. It's called Riverworks. And it is just a destination brewery on a beautiful day like this. It's currently 63 degrees and sunny. We're gonna go have a couple of drinks on the water, get some food. They have kayaking and zip lines, and we're not gonna do any of that. We're gonna drink. But that's our night tonight. We're heading out to a brewery. I'm very excited about it. We're at like 204 degrees right now, so it is very close to boiling. So once again, what's about to happen, and I'm holding off on making the star stand, I'm holding off on everything else because I want to be here for boiling. Being here for boiling is very important because we don't want a boil-over. Boil-overs are terrible. You can't overstate that. Boil-overs are terrible because then you have to stand here and clean your stove from basically burnt caramel is what it's like. And man, you gotta scrub. It's absolutely horrendous, boil-overs. So every time you bring it up to a boil, you're gonna wanna watch out for a boil-over. And when you throw in hops, the first time you throw in the hops, you're gonna watch out for a boil-over as well. So bubbles are coming. Bubbles are here. It's not a rolling boil. I think it doesn't matter is what I think. The DME or the LME first, I don't think it matters. I will tell you though, when we pour in that DME, here, I'll take this out for that. We don't want to get it messed up. When we pour in the DME, the steam likes to mess up your bag of DME before it all gets in, and then you start to get chunks. So we're going to open up the entire top of the bag, not just an edge, because we want a lot of surface area. Steam. Now we're doing pretty good right now. But there's our boil. Do I have enough to show you? Yes, I do. There's our boil. I don't know if you could actually see the bubbles coming up, but they are large. and they're pushing the foam off to one side. So that is a rolling boil. That's what we have here. Stove off. Because we're putting in the DME and the LME. I'm going over to the garbage again. I'm going to cut this open over the garbage just in case we get some falling out. Because it is packed tight. Okay. Which do I prefer to work with? LME or DME? Doesn't matter to me. Tell you what, I prefer all grain on a normal brew day, which is where you're getting all of the sugars from grain rather than from using a DME or LME. However, I do like to do an extract batch in the winter when it's cold and I don't want to fire everything up. Doing it right here when I have only a couple hours, like today, where I have 4 hours to get this knocked out, and it's going to work in 4 hours. It's going to work in less. Okay, stirring in the DME, stirring the entire time so that we don't get chunks, because we don't want to have to break up chunks. Now there are people who will say that they can tell a difference between extract beer and all grain beer. And it's not that I don't believe them, because they might. But what I really think is happening, see, that's what I mean right there, there's the steam. What I really think is happening is that a pretty standard progression for homebrewers is to start with extract and then move to all grain. And the thing about that is, if you're starting with extract, then your whole system, your entire process isn't dialed in yet. So maybe you're not actually tasting extract. Maybe what you're just tasting is inexperience. You know what I mean? All right. Am I worried about these extra bits? No. I mean, could I pour some water in here and get the rest of it out? Yeah, but there's so little left in there. We're good. I will do that with the LME because of the way it sticks in there. So, I believe that we are dissolved right now. I don't see any more chunks. Oop, there was one. Okay, all right. I don't feel any chunks. It feels just like liquid. All right. Let us open up some LME. And I'm going to get my washcloth right there. And my glove. The glove is for the container. I'll take my watch off. The glove is for the container. I'm sorry, I don't see any comments right now, if there are any. Glove is for the container. Washcloth is for the water. Can opener for the can. Let's do this. Hot? Yeah, not too bad. You know what? Glove not necessary. All right. Washcloth though. Our LME is warm. That label of the LME is coming right off. Since I don't want any falling in the beer or the wort, I'm just going to take it off right now, just in case. Let's open it up. So again, I'm assuming that your brew day is happening at the same speed as mine. If your stove, or maybe you're using induction, if your stove has not gotten to a boil yet, you can pause this until it does. The goal again, is to do this together. To keep it real time. Not just give you a step by step where you have to pause or watch the next video. I don't know why this isn't working well. But to actually do it real time so that we can do it together. Huh. I don't know, my can opener isn't working well. I mean, it's working enough. It's just not working well. Hold on. All right. That was, here. I don't want to force it because I don't want to cut myself. It's a can opener. Come on. It's a good can opener. It has never given me problems before. We'll just bend the cap back instead. So I don't know what happened, but look, that's where we're at. I just bent it back instead. All right, I'm gonna pour it in, and then I'm gonna stir because we don't want it to sit on the bottom. We don't want it to scorch. All right, now, a lot of this poured out. This is really good. There. A clean measuring cup. I'm gonna scoop some of that wort right back in. I'm gonna swirl it around a little bit. Can you tell what I'm doing? I'm taking some of this boiling water, or boiling wort right now, pouring it into the can. By the way, my left hand, holding it right now. Ow! Holy cow! Yeah, I know. Duh, right? Swirling it around. Want to get as much of that LME out as possible. All right, take a look in there. See it? It's pretty, there we go. Pretty well empty. Let's do the same with the second can. And then we're ready to bring it back up to a boil. All right, let's see if this one opens better. Here, right there. 3, 2, 1. All right. Again, I don't want any of the label to fall in, so I'm taking the label completely off because it's waterlogged right now and it's coming right off. Can't see that. See? Just coming right off. All right. See if the can opener works better this time. See, it popped off again. Something about these cans. Keeps popping off. There we are. That's a full way around. Let's see how this one worked. Aw, would you look at that? That one just came off. All right. We're doing good. You still with me? All right, here we go. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Again, get it off the bottom. Don't let it sit on the bottom. We don't want it to scorch. Let's do the same thing as before, but I won't hold it down at the bottom this time because, ow. Take some of that boiling wort, get it in there. Put this over here because that gets thrown in the sink now. There we are, get it right off the sides. This is what you can do when you can actually get the lid off. There we are. That's all the LME. Love it. All right. Good. And no drips. We're doing great. I'm going to keep stirring that while I crank the heat up again. Come on. There we are. As soon as this comes to a boil again, we start our timer, we dump in the first bit of hops, and we're ready to go. So the 20 minutes of steeping grain, plus however long it took to pour this in. Not how long it took to get up to boiling, that's different. However long it took to pour that in is taking the place of about an hour long to 90 minutes of a mash if you were doing all grain. So now we have our wort. We have about 3 gallons of wort because the displacement of the LME and the DME. Our next step is to go through our hop additions in the 1 hour boil time and then cool and pour it into the fermenter and be done. All right. So I'm going to keep a close eye on this right now. And I'm going to do some dishes. Okay? This pot here, all the things I'm using here, I'm going to clean those up to get these to a boil. All right, now you might be saying, why don't you cover it? It'll get to a boil faster. It's true. And you could. You could cover it. However, once it starts to boil, you no longer want it covered. Okay, you need to uncover the boil. A couple of reasons. One, it sends off, it boils off some chemicals that you don't want in here. Like the precursors to DMS. And DMS will give a vegetal, like a cooked vegetable flavor to your beer. You don't want that. Especially if you're doing things with Pilsner malt. Which there might be some in that light. And you know what? They might have already boiled off all the DMS, but still, you want to cover unboiled. You want to boil uncovered. All right. Secondly, you do want some evaporation here. Okay, you do want the evaporation so that your final gravity, your starting gravity is correct. Again, we're doing extract, which means we're just going to top it off at the end anyway, which means that really doesn't matter as much. However, the rule of thumb is to boil without a cover. You caught everything I just said right now, right? That you should boil without a cover. However, we're doing extract brewing and that really isn't an issue. Okay. All right. Still, boil without a cover. Can you think, people who know brewing better than I do. Can you think of a reason to not boil covered doing an extract other than it's just the right thing to do? Right? DMS isn't going to be an issue, right? Or will it still be? Shouldn't be. And evaporation shouldn't be an issue, right? Because it's extract. We're gonna add the right amount of water no matter what, right? I don't know. Think of another good reason. All right, my water's almost done. We have, ooh, you see the proteins. So we have a hot break going on right now, which is good. We're not going to do a single thing about it, okay, because we're following this recipe. But you could scoop some of those proteins off if you wanted to. Yeah, because I turned it off and stirring that in, we dropped to 180. So that's where we're at right now. We have to be careful not to boil over. But here, there's my stove. I'm going to do the dishes and then come back. Dishes time, dishes time. Okay. I gotta get the clean dishes out of the way first. Use this for later. It's my hydrometer and thief. We'll talk about that. Water bottles. And water bottles. And coffee mugs. Okay. Lunch things. For lunches for the week. Lunches and lunch and lunch. Okie dokie. You don't need to watch me do the dishes, right? I'll give you the view of the boil. So we can see it coming. There it is. 182. Just cranked up the heat. All right. Dishes are done. How we doing? We're up at 190 again. All right. As I was saying, here we are. Hi. As we're waiting for this to get back up to a boil again, we are going to mix up some Star San. Now, Star San is 1 ounce per 5 gallons. We have 24 ounces here. We could do some math. Let's try that. Hey, Google. Hey, Google. What's 1 gallon divided by 24 ounces?
Here are the top search results.
Ooh. No. That can't be right. Nope. 1 US gallon by fluid ounces. 1 US gallon is 128 ounces divided by 24. Let's see. 24 times 5 would be 120. 5.3. 5.33. 33333. Is that right? Hey Google. What's 128 divided? Hey Google. What's 128 divided by 24?
128
Yeah.
divided by 24 is
5.33333.
approximately 5.33.
So we need 1/5 of an ounce in milliliters. 1/5 of an ounce. Okay. Divided by, not 1/5. Yeah, 1/5 of an ounce. Because we're going to divide it by 5. We're going to divide 1 ounce by 5. Hey Google, how many milliliters in a fluid ounce?
1 fluid ounce is equivalent to 29.574 milliliters.
Hey, that's about 30. Oh no. Because it's not 1 ounce per gallon, it's 1 ounce per 5 gallons. So we need to divide by 5 by 5. So divide that by 5, we get 6 milliliters. And then divide that by 5, and we get a little bit over 1 milliliter. That's why we're going to mix it in a 1 gallon batch. So our wort is about 194 right now. I'm going to go grab a gallon container, and we're going to mix up some Star San. Funnel, 1 gallon container. Let's do this. So 1 gallon is 4 quarts. Fill this up with 4 quarts of water. At the same time, we need 6 milliliters of Star San, so I'm going to open it up. Come on. It's childproof. So am I, apparently. There it is. Okay. Our water's almost done filling. Hey, look. Dosing cup. Use these for the kids' medicine. We have a line at 5 and a line at 7.5. We're going to fill that up. 1 gallon of water. I'll bet I even have a dosing syringe. Hold on. You got kids? Yep. You got these? If not, go to Walgreens. Ask for one. Hey, we need a new dosing syringe, please. Good. So we're looking for 6 milliliters. Oh, look at that. Isn't that wonderful? Look how beautiful that is. Look how nice that fits. Everything's coming up Millhouse. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oil that. That's great. 6 milliliters. Into my 1 gallon. Mm-hmm. This is fun. I'm having fun. Alright. Putting this away. So once again, that math, 6 milliliters Star San into 1 gallon of water. Then I'm going to pour that into here. We obviously will only get 1/5 of it into here, but we'll have some more to reuse, and we can actually swirl it around in the fermenter before doing this anyway. But again, you don't need to make 5 gallons of Star San every time you use it. I made 1 gallon. I can do 5 brews, making it every single time, using the exact same amount of Star San as I used to for 1 brew. Make sense? All right. Now, I actually think my brewing funnel is going to be a little too big. So I've got a clean food funnel here. I'm going to open this up and label it so that I don't accidentally mix up the vinegar solution with the Star San. S-T-A-R-S-A-N. Star San. But Scott, I'll remember. Just write it. Just write it down. How's our boil coming? Again, this is the dangerous part, because we do not want to boil over. They're sticky, and I hate them. We're doing great. We're at 200 degrees. Let me check, see if we got comments going, because I'm about to make me some Star San and start cleaning some stuff. I should say start sanitizing some stuff, because it's already clean, right? Should already be clean. All right. You know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to pour this into here in the sink, because anyone who's ever used Star San, you know that there are certain surfaces that you don't want to get Star San on, and my countertop is one of them. I have a circle over there and a circle over here that can both be attributed to Star San. What are we? We're an hour 40 into this. If my wife ever watches this live brew day and gets an hour 40 in, she will find out that information. Oh, a small little spot over by the sink too. Yeah. You gotta pour slow with Star San. You gotta pour slow with Star San because it is a high foaming sanitizer, and that is a feature, not a bug. It is meant to be high foaming. So, ooh, we got a little ring right there. We're gonna wipe it up right this second before anything happens. Star san is no rinse, okay? So once you have a clean vessel, once you have a clean utensil, if you use star san on it, you do not have to rinse it off. In fact, you should not rinse it off because it is sanitized already. It will not hurt your beer, okay? Okay. It is non-toxic, it is biodegradable, and it works great. Oh, we are so close. We're starting to get around the edge again. I was hoping to get the boil by 1:30, and it's 1:41. Maybe by 1:45. So yeah, that 4 hours that I thought we would end up being, it's probably going to be pretty close to 4 hours. I'm going to continue cleaning so that we don't have things in the way. This is going to go back downstairs. I've got my paddle ready. I've got my hops ready over here. I have my yeast sitting out, getting to room temperature. I have I'm going to stir it. If you get any DME or LME on the bottom and it gets scorched, you'll see little black flakes come up into your wort. And that's bad. They don't taste good. Oh, you know what we haven't mentioned yet though? And yeah, no, we're good. There's no little black anything, so we didn't scorch anything on this. You're gonna make a beer with this. Even if you've made all sorts of mistakes so far, which I really hope you haven't because we've been going step by step. If you've made all sorts of mistakes so far, you will end up with a beer. And it will be safe to drink. It will most likely be safe to drink. You're not going to blind somebody like with spirits or too much methanol. You're not going to have issues like that. Any issues that you have would be if your fermenter, anything after the boil, if it's not clean and sanitized, the most likely thing that would happen is you would end up with a bad tasting beer. You would get a beer that just doesn't taste right. And that happens. However, it's most likely going to be safe. There is a reason why beer has been a beverage that has been brewed for thousands of years. There's a reason why people drank beer instead of water, and it's because of this right here. We're boiling it. The hops themselves too have antibacterial properties. So it is a very safe drink to drink, even homebrewed stuff. So when your friends come over and you say, hey, have a bottle of my homebrew, and they say, no, I don't want to go blind, you can assure them that that won't happen. Okay? Okay. Unless you're doing something weird. If you're adding stuff to it that you shouldn't be adding, nope. If you're sticking to your grains and your hops and your simple adjuncts, if you're thinking, no, I'm going to add something to this and really bump up the ABV, don't do that. Again, we are so close to a rolling boil right now. Everything's coming off the side. Tiny little bubbles coming up on the edges. I'm looking for big bubbles for the rolling boil, and then we can start our timer, we can throw in our Chinook, and we can get moving here. We can put this back in too. Now remember, the 2 times we're being careful of a boil over. We're being careful of a boil over now, when it comes up to a boil, and then when we add the hops. How are we going to prevent it? You can get some silicone drops, which will get rid of the foam. But we're just going to turn down the heat when we see that happen. Because once it comes up, Once we get it back down and we get to a rolling boil, it will be fine. You can put a wooden spoon over the top if you want. That helps prevent boilovers. I don't have one. Nope. When I used to brew out in the garage, I had a wooden stick that I would put into my boil kettle to judge the amount. As in, I poured in, 5 gallons, and then put the stick down, marked the water line, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 gallons, and marked each line on it. And I would have a wooden stick, and that would check my quantity, it would check my volume, and I would lay that across the top to prevent boilovers. We're so close. You know what? Here. I want you to come see, because you will see what a boilover looks like. I'm not going to let it happen, but we're going to see how quick it happens. See the rolling over here? It's small bubbles still. We're getting there. They say a watched pot never boils, but you can't leave this at this moment. There's a couple of times in brewing where you absolutely need to watch it, and this is one of them. And if you're on an open flame outside, like with propane, you shouldn't be leaving that area. That's why it's nice in the garage, because I have everything there, and even if I need to work on a separate project, if I'm right next to it. I'm going to check the comments right now. Nice. Here. Quote tweet. I really like puns on Twitter. It's terrible of me, I really know. I'm telling people on Twitter, if you hop in right now, you can see me try to prevent a boilover and throw in the first hop charge. Tweet. All right. We're so close. So close. We're at 210 degrees, by the way. And I did calibrate this when we started today. I calibrated it with my thermopen. And all you have to do to calibrate it is to get some pliers underneath on this nut under here, and then turn the dial so that it matches a known temperature. Or since I trust my thermopen, I turned it until it matched my thermopen. Or you could do a cup of ice water and bring it down to 32 and check it. Are we going to get through this without a boilover? Alright, again, I don't want to walk too far away here, but I'm going to open up our hop bag. We're going to throw in the first Chinook, and we're going to start the 60-minute timer. Chinook pellets here. Always, always smell them. Why wouldn't you? They smell awesome. Okay, so Chinook alpha acids of 12, so we're going to have some good bittering off of these here. Generally, the higher the alpha acids, the more bittering you can expect out of them. Okay, they are now down. They're going to expand, and we're going to say, hey Google, set a timer. Hey Google, my goodness, set a timer for 60 minutes, please. Okay. I'm going to set it on my watch too, just in case. Or you know what? Even better. Right here in the microwave. Timer. 60 minutes. Start. Alright. Why not set it for 20 minutes? Because I want to see the whole boil. I want to see the whole boil as one timer. And if I miss one of my times accidentally, I still only want to do this for an hour. Because if you go for longer, you're going to mess up your hop addition timings. When I say mess up, I mean they might end up like a really, really good beer. But you won't be able to do it again unless you mark everything down. Right? And we want repeatability. Because if this beer is awesome, we want to do it again. And if this beer isn't awesome, we want to change something, and we want to know exactly what to change instead of just like, oh yeah, what happened? So it's 153 right now. We're going to be done boiling this at 253. Make sense? These scissors I'm going to use for all the hops. They are fine for now. Before I use them to cut the yeast, I will spray them with Star San, but that's later. Okay. Add 1 ounce pack of Chinook hops. This was at 153. See? 153. And our hour is going. It looks like we avoided a boil over, which is good. It smells great. We have some time. And like I said, you wait until the boil. But it's time to open our first beer. Let's do it. First beer that we're opening actually has some dust on it because brewed this beer early 2018. If I'm not mistaken, this is one of my Flanders Red from early 2018. Then I aged it for a year for early 2019. Man, was it early 2017? I can't be sure. I can't be sure. If this is the Flanders Red, I think I brewed it back in 2018. Could I go back and check my notes? Yes, I could. In fact, because I even entered this one into a competition. So I could go back and check my notes on this one if I wanted to. Don't need to right now. I do need to find a bottle opener. I have like 9 of them, and I can't find one right this second. Oh. There's one. Right on the scissors I was just using. Ugh, it's not working. I'm going to cut off my fingers. Hold on. had one in my wallet that whole time too. Duh. Since it's a homebrewed beer, and since it's bottle conditioned, I'm going to pour most of it in and leave the very last bit so that we don't get any of the yeast sediment in there. This looks like the Flanders Red. Yep, there's the sediment. It looks like the Flanders Red. I just wish that it was more carbonated. It tastes like the Flanders Red. All right. Flanders Red is a Belgian sour beer. And this was soured with the Rose Layer blend. And then sat for a year. And then I threw it on some oak chips. And if I do it again, I would oak it some more and throw a little bit more priming sugar in there to carb it up a little bit more, because really it should be much more sparkling than that. However, I like it. What are you drinking? What do you got? What are you drinking right now? Again, we're at the boil. We have 14 minutes before our next hop edition. Now is the time to open a beer. Now is the time to check the chat. Nothing here. I dig it. That's okay. Nothing here. And nothing here. All right. I plan on doing this again. Okay? I want to get real time brewing events like this, so that if you're following along, if this is your first time ever brewing one of the Brewer's Best kits, just set yourself aside 4 hours, watch this video, and do each step with me. Okay? Okay. As long as you're doing each step with me, then any mistakes I make, you'll make too. We'll make the same mistakes. But hopefully, we don't make any mistakes, right? Right. So our next step is just to wait 20 minutes. Now, our kit did not include any Werflock tablets or any Irish moss or anything like that. And if you have some and you want to throw it in the last 10 minutes, Werflock and Irish moss, they will help clear your beer. They will help solids fall to the bottom and make your beer a little bit clearer in the proteins. If that doesn't matter to you, that's fine. You could even use gelatin afterwards, but we're not going to. The kit didn't come with Werflock, didn't come with Irish moss, so we're going to do it just like this and see what comes up. We're going to bottle these together in about 2 weeks. Okay, so today we're going to start the fermentation, and in about 2 weeks we're going to bottle it together. Okay? Then 2 weeks after that, they will be ready to drink. So our goal is to make these May 30th so that they will be ready by the 4th of July. And if you're doing this with me today, tomorrow, you know what? Even if you do this a week off, you should still be able to have carbonated, homemade IPA in bottles for 4th of July. If you're going to a 4th of July party, bring a 6-pack. If you have people coming over to your house and you're going to hang out outside because it's the 4th of July and hopefully it'll be sunny, you will have your own bottles of IPA. We're looking at the end of this. Oh, I think it even says it here. Approximately 53 bottles of IPA. You're going to have about more than 2 cases of homemade IPA. I mean, how cool is that? What day is today? 30th? Oh no! Oh, I'll have to look that up. No, I think it's okay. I have a retirement party that I'm going to for some of my friends. The very end of June. And these will be ready by then. How fun is that? Totally bring bottles to this party. Absolutely. You know what? Make up another batch of the hard cider or hard seltzer too. All right. It's only been 2 hours, guys and girls. Jenny Ruby Red Kolsch is really good. Woodshed Brewing, where are you guys? Because that's a local favorite too. I don't know if I'll look you up right now. Woodshed Brewing. Rochester. Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, that makes sense. What a perfect day for Ruby Red Kolsch. I assume if your day is like mine, 64. Right now there's clouds, mostly sunny. Drinking too fast. That's what happens on these brew days. It's all right. We'll lay down a base layer, and then we'll ride the rest out with water. We'll lay down a little base layer here so that by the time we get to chilling, we're starting to come out of it. Because again, especially your first couple of brews, I remember my first couple of brews, I would come out of them drunk every time. And my wife would say, you can't brew today because I can't have you drunk at the end of it. So I stopped that. And now I will only have beer once we get to the boil. Plus, we don't want to make mistakes at the end. And my Flanders Red is less than 4%. And so is the next beer I've got coming. I don't know how I stopped seeing me. I want to stop seeing me because I don't want my computer to have to deal with seeing me. Computer should just deal with the streaming. I want to see chat, that's all I want to see. All right, I mean, we're boiling over here. We're doing great. So 7 minutes. We're going to throw in our next Chinook. And then it looks like we're going Cascade for the aroma hops. Although again, it's not, when you're making your own recipes, it's not like it's 100%. 100% of the bittering is coming from your bittering hops. 100% of your flavor is coming from your flavor hops, and 100% of your aroma is coming from your aroma hops. Okay, they're all blending together. However, the hop, what's the word I'm looking for? Utilization, the isomerization is going to provide less, okay, like if we put it on, the longer you boil it, the less aroma, then flavor, and that's going to go all to bittering. Okay, so there's been times when I've tossed in my bittering hops, and then something happened where I had to deal with something else, and then instead of a 60-minute boil, it turns into a 90-minute boil, and I can expect that 90-minute boil to be a little bit more bitter than a 60-minute boil. because the hops were in there for longer. The hops were in there for 90 minutes, and then my 40-minute hops became 60-minute hops. You know what I mean? So what about beers like Dogfish Head? 90-minute IPA or 120-minute IPA? They are constantly hopping those beers. They are adding hops, I think, every minute for either 60 minutes, 90 minutes, or 120 minutes. It doesn't mean that they're adding an ounce, or, we're on a homebrew scale. So it doesn't mean that they're adding the equivalent of a full ounce every minute. But they are adding hops every minute for 60 minutes, or for 90 minutes, or 120 minutes. And it makes a good beer. But man, it's too labor intensive when you can already make good beers at home. So quick story, we were going to New York City many times a year, maybe 5 times a year for about 2 years when my son was born, because he had some health issues, and there was a hospital in New York City that we would go to. He's fine now. That's not the story. The story is, though, we would use a local organization to fly us back and forth. They would do so because it was medical, and it saved us a lot of money. But we also, as long as Jack was strong enough to not be isolated from other people, we didn't want to exhaust their resources, right? So we took the train. Jack loved trains, still does. So we would take the train to New York City and back, and Amtrak does not have a great selection of beer, but for some reason, they have Dogfish Head 90-minute IPA. Like, what a wonderful trip these train trips to New York City were, because you would get your Blue Light or your Molson, or it was probably Budweiser or Blue Light, right? Or Dogfish Head 90-minute IPA. Like, yeah, I'll have that, please. I'm on the train for 10 hours. I'll have a couple of those, please. 3 minutes. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they got to deal with the distributor. Like, oh, we've also got a couple of cases of these 90 minutes. You want them? So 3 minutes, we're going to add the Chinook. Then another 20 minutes, we're going to add the Cascade. Then at the end of that, we're going to make an ice bath in the sink. And we're going to put this in the ice bath, and we're going to stir it to not only aerate the wort, because the yeast needs oxygen, but we're going to get it chilled down a little bit. And then the rest of the chilling is going to be provided by the cold spring water. The spring water, which is in the 38-degree fridge outside. 3 gallons of it. So that should be at about 38 degrees. The wort here, that's one of the things on here that I'm changing. First change from the Brewer's Best instructions, we're making a hop bag out of that grain bag. After the grains were done, getting rid of the grains and then tying up a new hop bag, because they didn't include one. And we don't want those solids in here. Not for this. Second change is going to be how we cool it down. They suggest here, it says cool wort and transfer. Cool the wort down to approximately 70 degrees Fahrenheit by placing the brew pot in a sink filled with ice water. We're going to do that. But why? Why do we have to sit there replacing ice for the wort to get down to 70 degrees Fahrenheit when the next one says add water? Add enough clean water, approximately 64 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Why are we adding room temperature water? Why? Why wouldn't you just add cold water to help chill this down? Ugh. And then, again, don't put ice directly into it, like Alton Brown told you to. Don't do that. My first beer that I ever made was a kit like this back in 2012, and I made sure to watch my Alton Brown, and I did exactly that. Is I threw a 7 pound, no, 7 pound. I threw a 7 pound bag of ice right in there, right into the wort here. And sure, it cooled it down, but not all the way. You still had to do an ice bath, and you risk contaminating your wort. Why would you do that? Don't do that. All right, beer 1 is down. I'm going to wait until I throw in the next set of hops, and then I'll open up the next beer and I'll tell you about that one. It's another homebrew, and it's another traditional historic style like the Flanders Red was, and it's also less than 4%, just like the Flanders Red. 3, 2, 1, 0. It is 40 minutes. That means we throw in our 40-minute hop addition. And in this recipe, again, it doesn't call it a 40-minute addition. It just says boil for 20 minutes, then add another Chinook. This is our 40-minute addition. It is another ounce of Chinook hops. It should smell the same as the other one. So we're going to open up our hop bag. We're going to add those in. Make sure we get them wet. Then tie it back up again. There we are. Pellets in the hop bag. Could you grow your own hops? You could. I did for years. Problem with it is that then you end up with whole cone hops. And the whole cone hops, you need to either use them to make what's called a wet hopped IPA, or you need to store them. So to store them, we would use a dehydrator and dehydrate them. And then, or actually one year we got a bunch, just a pack of air filters, right? Like furnace air filters, and put a box fan underneath it. So I'm sure I have a picture. I'll tweet out a picture of it as soon as I find it. Box fan, you got a box fan. We put a box fan with air filters on top of it, maybe 5 or 6, however many came in a pack. And then just put the cone hops on top of those and stacked them, and then left it in the garage with the air circulating. It wasn't warm air, it was just air circulating. But man, the garage smelled awesome for like a whole week. And then vacuum sealed them using my vacuum sealer. You can't see it in the shop, but it's back here. And then I would use them, and they would soak up a bunch of wort, and you would have to let them drain out, and you would lose a lot just to the leaves. And you know what? It didn't make a better beer. So this year, after 6 or 7 years of growing hops on the side of the house, we just took them out. They were pretty, but I never used them. We just ended up tossing them at the end of the year because they weren't worth it to me. I would so much rather just go buy some pellets and get something really consistent for all of my beers. And who knows, maybe I want to throw some more in at a different time, but not this year. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to care for hops again this year for not using them. They were pretty and they smelled good once a year. For like a week in September, you'd get a really good smell in your backyard, like, oh yeah, Cascade. I was growing Cascade in Columbus, and they're just not useful enough to spend that much time taking them down and drying them and freezing them, or making a wet hopped IPA, which just steals all of your wort right into those hop leaves. So we don't grow them anymore. I might again, eventually. All right, second beer, let's do this. We have, by the way, 16 minutes to our last addition. And after that last hop addition, we're going to move into, I don't know, what do you want to call it? We're going to move into rapid mode. We're going to fill up the sink with some ice. We're going to get our fermenter and dump in the rest of that star sand. We're going to make sure all of our things are sanitized, ready to go. Because once that 20 minutes is done, that last 20 minutes is done, we want to get this cooled as quick as possible. And we'll move everything as quickly as we can. Time, 2:15. And be done around 3:30, 3:45 today. All right. The next beer I'm getting, hold on. Rinsing my glass. Actually, first I'm rinsing out that bottle of the homebrew so I can reuse it. I'm not 100% vigilant. I mean, who can be? But you should always rinse out your bottles after you're done, especially if you're going to reuse them, and especially if they're homebrew. Because homebrew bottles, you're going to have that little bit of yeast sediment at the bottom. So this is now rinsed out. I'm going to dry this on a fast rack from Fast Ferment. Hey! How's it going outside? Yeah, of course. So you guys can be in here.
It's toasty in here. Wow.
I'm standing next to boiling water.
Check lunch.
What's wrong?
Jack would like lunch.
Okay. Timer on the microwave. That's how much longer is in foil.
Okay.
And then I chill and then I'm done.
Oh, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how long does it take to chill?
I'm going to do it quickly. Because I have experience.
Good for you.
Thank you. I like that kind of support. What you making?
Sandwiches for the children. Peppers. Also for the children.
What should we order for the kids tonight?
I don't know. You know what we have, like... Are you still recording?
Yes.
Okay.
I am live. I am streaming. We are having a conversation.
We have like mac and cheese and stuff.
It's true.
They're close to more. Hopefully you don't need more.
That second hop edition was at 213. Are we sure Aunt Dee Dee's not bringing food?
No.
Yeah.
Even if she is, if we have mac and cheese and turkey sausage, they can eat it tomorrow.
How was the playground?
Pardon?
How was the playground?
He went to the community playground, he and Em went to the school playground.
Yeah, no.
It was fine. There was nobody there, which is how she likes it.
Currently 2 people watching.
Ooh.
I know. So I'm having a great time.
I should have given them a tutorial on how I make peanut butter.
Regardless,
sandwiches.
the way you make peanut butter sandwiches is just wrong, though. All right, so I'm opening a beer.
But I want peanut butter jelly.
I'm getting you.
Right. This is a bottle-conditioned Grodziski. It is less than 4%. It is a traditional smoked Polish beer. It's really light. It has a smoked flavor. And it's super refreshing on a hot day. Same idea. We are pouring a homebrewed beer, which means we have to leave the last bit. I'm watching the sediment. Once the sediment hits like this right here, what do we call that? The elbow? I don't know. Once it hits that, I stop pouring. And look at how clear that is. Look at that. Sam.
Oh, that's clear.
That is a bottle conditioned beer. There was no gelatin added. There was no lagering. Ah. What's that?
Is this one that tastes smoky?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, you can't taste this, but this is amazing. I love this beer.
Now it's
Mmm. Oh, it's so good.
not. Ow!
It's super refreshing. It tastes like,
Hot dog water.
it doesn't taste like hot dog water. It tastes like a sausage. It tastes like a sausage, like a refreshing sausage.
What's the refreshing sausage?
Mm-hmm. I saved my Chinook pouch because when I open the Cascade, I'm going to sniff both of them. And kind of contrast, compare. Oh, what was that smell just now? Hold on. There's a pepper smell to this one. All right, we have 8 minutes. In 8 minutes, we move fast. We start going. We start doing this. Checking for comments. Ooh, fun. I gotta get my link so I can send that link out, because fun. What we're doing, we're just waiting. 7 minutes, 43 seconds. Last hop edition, 7 minutes, 43 seconds. And then, again, we will, copy link. We will go get the fermenter, dump the Star San into it. We will fill the sink up with cold water and ice. We will get our tools, oh, awesome. We will put our stir paddle into it. We will get that ready. We will sanitize our hydrometer, and just thinking through the process, making sure we're good. You know what, we're going to need to get a bubbler ready. So we will do all those things after the next 6 minutes. The next 6 minutes, we get to hang out. We get to wait. We don't need to do anything. We don't need to rush. 6 minutes. Paste. we have multiple friends coming into town this weekend, which is fun. It's Memorial Day weekend, and one of my wife's best friends growing up is in town for the first time in years. And one of my best friends growing up is in town. I haven't seen him in at least over a year since the start of the pandemic, maybe even 2 years. And he's in town this weekend too. So it's exciting. I'm getting texts back and forth. We're meeting her friend out tonight at the brewery. Not the brewery. We're at a brewery I mentioned earlier at Riverworks. And then tomorrow morning I'm going disc golfing with my friend, who we met in 4th grade. I think Sam, my wife, met her friend in 4th grade too. So these are relationships that go back to 1992. So it's fun. Now we have other relationships with friends still that we met in 1992, but these two are in particular people who have moved away. So it'd be fun to see them. So here's our timing right now. Let's check. 4 minutes. In 4 minutes, we're adding our cascade hops. Then we move into rapid fire mode for the next and last 20 minutes, because we need to chill down that wort as fast as we can. Because first, we want to stop the hop utilization, right? We want the aroma hops to stay aroma. We want them not to lose all the aroma volatile compounds. And you know what? We're going to lose a bunch anyway because it's a 20-minute boil. But I'm going to trust their recipe and try it out. And we can see at the end of this how we think the beer turned out. But I'm going to follow their recipe. 60, 40, 20. 60-minute hop addition, 40-minute hop addition, 20-minute hop addition. Then we need to get it cooled down also, because the food safety spectrum. Once we get this wort below 180 degrees, we need to drop it as quick as we can, because we want to keep the possibility of things growing in there to an absolute minimum. The only thing we want in there is the yeast, which we are pitching. And we're going to do that by putting it in a fermenter and covering it, and only allowing gas to escape and not come back in. Okay, so the gas that will escape will be CO2, and since carbon dioxide is denser than oxygen, than air, CO2 is denser, it will collect at the top of your wort and push the air out, so that eventually all you will have in there is CO2. And even if it pulls in a little bit of air, a little bit of oxygen, which eventually, not right away, we don't need to get into hot side aeration, but eventually when you get some oxygen in there, you will have a layer of CO2 protecting you, as long as you're not opening that fermenter over and over and over again. We are going to trust the yeast, okay? At the end of this, we are not going to open that fermenter. We are going to let it ride for about 2 weeks. We're just going to let it go. We're not going to open it. We're going to trust it, okay? There's not much we can do to save it if something goes wrong anyway. And if you open it up, there's a much better chance of something going wrong. Where are we at right now? 1 minute and 23 seconds. I'm going to rinse this out. We're going to get moving. Hey, buddy. That is impressive. All right, here's where we're at. I used to work in a banquet hall. And the worst part about the banquet hall, I guess is also the best part about the banquet hall, is that when you need to do something, you need to do everything. And then, nothing. Like banquet hall, people need to get their salads. And 250 wedding guests need to get their salads at the same time. And then nothing. And then 250 wedding guests have to get their entree at the same time. And then nothing. And then 250 wedding guests have to get their dessert at the same time, and then nothing. And then, as banquet staff, you would get to the part of the night where there's dancing, and it'd be a whole bunch of nothing. It'd be watching people, making sure that they're staying in control, but otherwise, it's basically supervision at that point. So there's nothing, 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 everything, nothing, everything, nothing, everything, and then nothing again, until it was time to clean up when everybody left. Because you can't do all the cleaning while people are there, because they feel that that is rude. So anyway, we are now at that point where we're about to do everything right now. Let's do this. Last hop edition. Cascade. Going in. Cutting that up. By the way, oh, that is just like pure citrus right now. Hold on. Maybe a little bit of caramel. I'm not sure what that smell I'm getting. Maybe I'm getting it off of the wort here. So, we're adding in our cascade pellets. This is our last addition. I talked a little bit over, but that's okay. Because I would rather put these in for less time than 20 minutes than go over. So, cascade is in. 18 minutes, 19 seconds left in this boil. After that, we cool, and we put it in the fermenter. I gotta make sure that this is actually sitting in there. Hold on. There we are. Awesome. I'm gonna put it like this because doubling it over like that means I put it here. Nice. All right. Please take a moment. Your Chinook. Take a moment, please. Your Chinook and your Cascade. Chinook, which again has a little bit of a pepper smell to it. Cascade. Of the two, the citrus, the Cascade, I mean, it's a good reason to use Cascade for aroma hops. It is not the most citrusy of hops. When you're going out and drinking a beer right now, it's almost like old-fashioned to use Cascade and Chinook anymore in an American IPA. Maybe less so Cascade, I'm sure. I mean, Sierra Nevada uses it for sure for still. But you're looking at Galaxy and Citra, and you're looking at more new world hops, more New Zealand, more experimental hops right now. But man, Cascade is just a giant in IPAs. All right, we're moving quick now. I'm gonna go grab the fermenter. We're gonna dump in the Star San. All right. All right, we have our fermentation bucket, our ale pail, if you will. We have the lid. This was covering the fermentation bucket because while it sits there clean, I don't want anything falling in there, right? Any particles or any dirt or dust, I want to keep it clean. So I sprayed some Star San onto that tin foil and threw that on top of the bucket to make sure that it stayed clean. You can take a look. Now, do I use plastic buckets anymore? No. I'm doing it for this because, again, I'm assuming that this is going to be your first brew. And this is the type of equipment that came in your first brew kit. So we're using a Brewer's Best ale pail. Normally, right now, I'm using a SS Brewtech brew bucket. Okay? Oh, the sun just came out. It's beautiful. I'm going to spray my bucket top, and I'm going to pour in the Star San into the bucket. We have 14 minutes. Top is sprayed. They tell you, I'm going to actually rinse. I know it's a no rinse. I'm going to rinse and then spray again. There was some dust on the lid. There. They tell you to let it sit for a minute. Sorry. All right, I poured the Star San out of my Cambro container here into the fermenter. Now, I'm going to swirl it around a little bit. Get it up all the way. Let's get a towel in that, huh? Let's use the spray bottle instead. Okay. All right. Got my bucket filled with Star San. It's over 1 gallon in there. I am going to place my paddle in there and give it a stir. Good, I want to make sure that that is sanitized. And then, this right here. The equipment kit that we are using came with a hydrometer. A hydrometer, which by the way, should be used at fermentation temperatures. You're not using this hydrometer in boiling wort, okay? This is going to tell us the specific gravity of the wort. That's going to tell us the original gravity and the final gravity when it's done fermenting. So we're going to use it now, and we're going to use it again in 2 weeks. We'll probably use it a couple of times over that time. Now, the kit that I'm using today only gives you this. It does not give you a graduated cylinder, something that you can fill up with wort and then put this in and read where the level is, because this is going to float at a different level based on how many dissolved sugars are in your wort. Now, you can use this container here up to a point if you're making beer that is over 1.1%. You could use that, but you're going to want to use a graduated cylinder, or what I have here, which is a wine thief. Okay, you put this in, it fills up, then you use the hydrometer inside here, you spin it in and you read where the level is. Then at the bottom you see this right here You press that down and all the wort comes out. You're not going to put the wort back in. Okay, that wort you're going to taste. You're going to put it in a cup and keep it for yourself. You don't put it back in because you don't want to accidentally, infect your wort. Okay? So if you don't have a graduated cylinder right now, in which you can put some wort, do your reading, and then dump that or taste it, you're going to want to not take a gravity reading today. The way that they tell you to do it in the instructions, and this is another change, the way they tell you to do it here is sprinkle the contents, where is it? Sorry, here it is. Add enough clean water. Thoroughly stir the water into the wort using a sanitized hydrometer. Take an original gravity reading. That's what they say. They don't provide you, in the Brewer's Best Equipment Kit, they don't provide you with a graduated cylinder. So the way that I see people doing that is taking their hydrometer into the bucket, spinning it into the bucket of wort, and getting a reading. Two problems with that. One, if this isn't sanitized well or sanitized enough, you can be introducing bad things to your wort. Two, if this breaks, these break all the time. This is not my first hydrometer. This is not my first hydrometer. This is not my fifth hydrometer. This is not my fifth hydrometer. Hydrometers break all the time. They're super fragile. I use a spectrometer for most of the time. It uses light. However, hydrometers break all the time. And if you get broken glass into your beer, it's done. Okay? We are preventing broken glass into our beer as much as possible. Do not put this directly into your wort. Get some of your wort out and put it into a graduated cylinder, or use a wine thief like this, or today, just don't take the reading. If this is your first time, just assume that you're going to hit the right starting gravity. Why are you going to assume? Because we used dry and liquid malt extract. Okay? We are using already converted sugars. We already put it in there. We put in an exact amount, and we're going to fill it up to an exact level, which means our starting gravities should already be exact. We don't have to worry about brewhouse efficiency. Our efficiency is already set for us. I'm going to prove it to you because I'm going to use the wine thief today, and I'm calling it right now. I can't know, right? How am I going to know? Except to know that our original gravity is going to be between 1061 and 1065. And I'm live right now. Okay? And in 6 minutes, when we start chilling this, and we pour it into that fermenter, and I take a sample of it, it's going to say 1061 to 1065. And you're going to trust yours, unless you have a way to take the reading in a separate container. Okay? And it shouldn't be a huge container. Look, I'm going to take about this much beer out of that wort. I'm going to take about this much wort out of it so that I can get that reading. Then I'm going to put it into a cup. It's going to fill less than half of this. You'll see. You don't want to waste it, right? You're just going to trust it on this extract brew. So let me put these back because they are very, very fragile. All right. It's about time. My phone is going crazy. It's about time to start dealing with this. Okay? We're going to fill up the sink with ice water. I have my bucket lid on the bucket. I have my Cambro, which is going to be put away. I have a sink. All right. Cold water. It's got to be cold. And I need my stopper. Ma'am.
Jackson here?
He was. I think he went back out. Okay, stopper. Sink is filling up with cold water. See it over here? Yep, there it is. There it is. Sink filling up with cold water. I'm about to dump in some ice. We have an ice maker in our freezer, otherwise you would need to get yourself a bag of ice. It's just all the ice in the freezer. So while that's filling up, what could you do? What could you do if you didn't want to use ice cubes like this? If you didn't want to get a bag of ice, or you didn't want to use all the ice cubes in your freezer, you could take, for example, some 2-liter bottles of water, and you want to leave the cap off of them because they will expand, and don't overfill them. But you could take some 2-liter bottles, freeze those, then sanitize the outside of those bottles, and throw them in to your hot wort, which will work like a soup paddle. If you've ever worked food service, right? It's a frozen paddle that you stir soup with to cool it down so that you can store it for the night. Because you want to move things from boiling to chilled as fast as possible. So again, right now, filling up the sink with cold water and ice. We have 2 minutes left. This water is still boiling, the wort is still boiling, by the way, which means that the thermometer that has been in there for the entire hour is sanitized. Okay, the paddle, which I'm using to stir it right now, is sanitized, but also I'm putting it into the sanitizer, into the sanitizing solution. Go ahead.
Sorry.
You're good. No worries. You're fine. Everybody ready? Minute 30 left. What will happen if we accidentally go over time? Nothing. Nothing. But we want it to be repeatable. So we want to do the best we can to make sure that we write down our times correctly. Excuse me. And that we follow along, because it's going to be terminate boil 1 minute from right now, so that's 2:51. 2:51, we're going to terminate that boil. So we're going to take this and put this whole pot into the ice bath, and we're going to sit there and we're going to stir it for a little bit, and we're going to watch the temperature on that thermometer. We want to get that temperature down as far as we can, but once it stops moving quickly, we're going to go get the refrigerated water. I'm still leaving it in the refrigerator, okay, because there's no reason to let air take any of that thermal work. There it is right there, look at that. There's that hour timer. 20 more seconds on this timer. There's no reason to lose any of that thermal potential. Right? All right, I'm going to close the door so we don't have the grass cutting. 6 seconds. There it is. Off. Burner is off. Oh, watch this quick. Hop bag. We want that. That's good. We want everything that's coming off of there. All right, so now is the right time to talk about hot side aeration. You're going to read about hot side aeration. You're going to hear about hot side aeration. And I'm going to tell you what it is right now. Hot side aeration. Oxygen is bad for your beer. However, oxygen is good for your yeast. So how do we handle that? How do we handle making sure your yeast has enough oxygen while still getting rid of all the oxygen in the beer? Here's the thing. There's a thing called hot side aeration, which is when you aerate this now that it's hot and you are introducing air to it, which will stale your beer faster. It will shorten the shelf life on your beer. However, studies, and when I say studies, I mean some studies, but more or less trials done by homebrew groups, including Brewlosophy, have shown that on a homebrew scale, hot side aeration just doesn't make that much of a difference. It makes an imperceptible difference, in fact, a difference that they weren't able to reliably decipher, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Point I'm making is, we're going to aerate this wort right now because it's the right thing to do, because the yeast needs oxygen, and we're not going to worry about hot side aeration. Okay? Okay. All right, we got all the drippies out of there. I'm going to use my spoon rest again. But because I'm super anal about this, I'm not going to put the spoon rest over my wort, just in case I drop it in. Instead, I'm going to put this over the spoon rest and toss it out. We're done with those. Those hops are done. They go in the garbage. Done. Cha, cha, cha. All right. Hey, hey, hey. This might be hot. Come with me. All right, take a look. That water is not pouring into the kettle. Not at all. Okay, in fact, I put it on slow enough so that it doesn't even drip. It's not throwing anything up into here. We want to keep everything out of here right now. Okay, I'm just filling up the sink just a little bit more because I underfilled it. Now we're going to use our sanitized paddle. Everything from this point on is sanitized. How do we know it's sanitized? Well, it was in our boil, but also I just put it in a sanitized solution, and we are going to stir this. You're going to want to stir the ice too on the outside, but you want to do that very gently and not with this paddle. I'm going to grab a separate spoon for that to stir the gentle, stirring the ice gently. Because we don't want any hot pockets. Sorry, we don't want any hot pockets of water there. So right now, our wort is already down to 180 degrees. That is a 30-degree drop almost instantly. Right, so we're going to keep stirring this on the inside here. I'm going to stir the ice in the opposite direction. By By the way, once all that ice is melted, we're pretty much done here. Being careful not to splash. What I'm careful about is I don't want to splash into the wort. Okay, I want to keep as much as I can out of the wort right now. It's a lot easier inside than when you're outside, because outside you get flies and bees. Oh, bees. So we're getting a thermal transfer here. I'm stirring the outside too to keep everything moving. And the ice is melting fast. All right. Those are moving right now. They're both moving in opposite directions. I'm going to pour out this star sand that is in my bucket because we're about to pour our liquid here into our fermentation bucket. It's only 257. This day is going great. We're at 146 degrees. 140, guys. I mean, that was minutes to get it down. And remember, this thermometer is sanitized because it was in our boil. Otherwise, everything else, we want to keep everything else away from our wort right now. I shouldn't be talking this much over it, but we're doing a video here, so. All right, almost all of our ice is melted. I don't have more ice to give, so we can't do much more there. I am going to let you stay here. I'm going to go dump the sanitizing liquid out of that. I'm just going to dump it into the grass. It's not going to hurt anything. I'm going to bring in my 3 gallons of refrigerated water. And we're going to add everything together. We're going to check our volume, check our temperature, and see how we did today. Because, guys, we're like done. Let's do this. All right. Fermenter, sanitized lid goes right there. Fermenter comes with me. All right. Whew. That was heavy. All right. We are at 130 degrees. I don't think we're going to get much more cooling out of this ice bath. All the ice is gone. And I don't want to spend more time with this uncovered. Maybe 125. That's it. All right, thermometer. Remember, thermometer is sanitized. Thermometer has been in our boil. Thermometer is going into the bucket. I want to keep track of the temperature of the wort because we're not pitching that yeast unless it's cool enough. All right, sanitized paddle is also going into the sanitized bucket. Good? Good. Who dat?
What?
All right, last but not least, our wort. The bottom of this wort, right now, right here, is wet. We don't want that, which is that water, to drip into there. We want to keep this as sanitary as possible. All right? It's something to think about while you're doing this. So we're not going to hold it over the bucket. We're going to hold it over the floor. And we're going to pour this in. Hold on. I want you to see it. I'm going to pour it in vigorously because I want to aerate this wort. All right. Giving it a second to drip. I want to see some bubbles on this pour. Hey, that was it. We're almost done, everyone. We're almost done. Draining my sink. Draining my sink. All right, thermometer is still hanging out above there because it's not full to 5 gallons. But it's about to be. This spring water was refrigerated overnight. I'm not going to temp it for you. Because I don't want to throw something in there. I don't want to throw a thermometer in there and wait. I want this to be fast. Now I have some gallon markings on the outside of my bucket here. I believe we want this at 5 gallons. Let's see what it says. Add water to approximately 5 gallons. Now we're going to lose some of that. It says it makes 5 gallons. We're going to lose some of that to the yeast and to the trub at the end of this fermentation. So we're bringing this up to 5 gallons with the cold water. What's it say, Ann?
It's...
Whoops, says about 4.5 gallons.
Yeah.
So we're going to add another ½ gallon here.
Yeah. So it gets to the top.
Tell me when it gets to 5, all right?
Okay. It's there.
Is that 5?
Yep.
Oh, almost, almost.
There.
Yeah? All right. So 5 gallons. I'm going to stir that.
Can I help?
Yeah. Careful. All right. The wort right now is about 80 degrees. It is a little bit high. So we're going to let this sit for a little bit. But first, I'm going to check the gravity. Now, I'll show you what that means. have my sanitizing solution. Everything is going to get sanitized right now, right here. Okay, we have to wait 1 minute.
Okay.
Spray the inside, spray the outside. Now we wait 1 minute. I'm going to take a glass. I'll show you. But the point is, after I'm done with this,
Can I stop stirring?
you can stop. Yeah, let go, please. When I'm done with this, I'm not putting this back in. Okay, we're going to read the reading, and then we're going to take out that wort so that we're not putting anything back in. This is a sanitized wine thief. See, that's the color of our beer right now, or of our wort right now. We're going to take the hydrometer and spin it in. Now, the spin is reading. Here, I'll show you. Ah! Nope. I got to spin it again because I touched it. Come back out. What did I say it was going to be? Between 1061 and 1064. I don't know if you can see there. Well, we actually came in a little bit under, didn't we?
Yeah.
Hold on, unless it's just sticking to the side. Okay. Yeah, about 1057. About 1057 is where we're at.
And please, oh wait, no, go. You know what?
Take a look. You get to taste it now. It tastes pretty good. It's going to taste very sweet because the yeast is going to convert it to alcohol. So right now, it's very sweet. It's kind of like a cereal, kind of like the milk that's left over in cereal afterwards. It's kind of what it tastes like. That's the color that we can expect out of this. It might clear up a little bit, let some more sun through, but otherwise, we're going to see this in 2 weeks. We are going to pitch that yeast, and we're not going to touch it. Okay? So what I'm going to do, because I don't want you to have to sit here for another hour while this cools down, is I want to explain the process. Let me close this right now. It is currently at 78 degrees. It's a little higher than I want. So everything is getting taken out. There we are. Everything is getting taken out. I'm putting the lid on. And you know what? Well, no, I want you to see the bubbler. So give it a minute. I am going to put this in my basement. My basement has a temperature of about 65 degrees, even on the hottest days. So I'm going to put this in my basement. I'm going to let it sit for an hour, maybe 2. I mean, I will wait until I come back from the brewery, probably. And we'll pitch my yeast later tonight. Would I kill the yeast right now if I were pitching it at 80 degrees? No, I don't think I would. However, I also don't want to introduce any off flavors to this by stressing out the yeast at a higher temperature than what we're looking for. So, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take that thermometer again. I took off the collar. I'm going to sanitize it. Going to wait. Then I'm going to put this into the hole. Take a look. See it? Thermometer. 76 degrees. All right, so I'm going to wait until that hits about 70. Maybe even a little bit less. We'll see what it's at later. In fact, if you follow me on WNY Brews on Twitter, twitter.com/WNY Brews, I will show you when I pitch the yeast. I'll take a picture of it. But first, please allow me to go get the bubbler. You're on your own for another 2 minutes. Thanks. Thank you for waiting. Here's my bubbler. It's an S-type bubbler. We're going to fill it up with sanitizing solution up to this line here. We're going to cap it. And we're going to put it in that hole right here when it is cool enough to pitch. So then we will spray our yeast packet with sanitizer, cut it open, lightly sprinkle it on top, and we will be done. Now, here's the deal. You can see that at WNYBrews.com. I'll put this all up. Give me a moment. I'm so very sorry. Okay, so we're going to let that cool down. Let's talk about this. After it cools down to at least below 70, I'd love to get it to 64 to start. And it will rise as it ferments into the 66, 68 range. We're going to spray this with sanitizing solution. We're going to spray these with sanitizing solution. We're going to cut this open and sprinkle it over the top of the wort. And that's it. We're going to leave it for 2 weeks. Now, we need to make sure that our notes are done here. So, Where did I put my pen? I put it over here. So, I'm going to fill out the rest of my notes here. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to clean up over here. I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to put this in the basement right this moment so that it can continue to drop in temperature. All right, thank you. What's really important to note is that if you spend your whole time brewing, drinking, you get to the end at a time like this, and you might just end up pitching that yeast thinking, I'm sure 80's fine. But you know what? You spent 4 hours today doing it, 3 hours and 17 minutes at this moment. Why would you want to ruin it right at the end, right? I would much rather wait a couple hours and pitch the yeast at a better temperature. So, I have all of my times written in here. We're going to finish up here, okay? 153, 213, 235, and 251 were all the times. We added about 2.6 gallons of water. Gallons of water added. To bring it to about 5 gallons. So then, where is it looking for? Okay, our OG. It's asking for it right here. And remember, I said ours came out to about 1057. So, foot in my mouth on that one, right? Still, I really, really, really don't want you to put the hydrometer just straight into the wort. Okay, if it comes down to it, I would so much rather you just assume that it's at 1061 to 1064, that you're getting a 6% beer. Because right now, let's say that this yeast drives it down to 1014, which is what one of the suggestions would be. To 1014 would be 1043. Hey Google, what is 1.043 times 131.25?
Sorry, I don't know how to help with that. Here are other things you can try.
Really, why not? Hey Google, what is 1.043 times 131.25?
1.043 times 131.25 is approximately 136.89.
Oh, one, you get rid of the 1 on both sides. Sorry. Hey Google, what is 0.43 times 131.25?
0.43 times 1 is 0.43.
Just open the calculator. My goodness. Okay. Times 131.25 equals 5.6%. So just assume that you're rolling with a 5.5 to 6% beer, and don't throw that hydrometer in there. Okay, unless you have something like a wine thief, unless you have something like a graduated cylinder, and then you should absolutely check your gravities. And we are going to check our gravity in about a week and a half when we see the fermentation, the active fermentation, when we see it being done in the bubbler, because we will get bubbles. We'll get bubbles through here. Bubbles, bubbles, bubbles. Once we see that slow down, then we'll check it again. So, until then, follow me on Twitter so you can get the updates. Okay, it's twitter.com/WNYBrews. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to do this again. We're going to have another day like this where we bottle this homebrew. And then 2 weeks from that, we're going to try it. So thank you for watching. If you were here for any part of it, if you were here for any part live, thank you so much. If you're watching it now and you followed along with your beer, and you followed along step by step, we didn't make too many mistakes, guys. It was a good brew day. I'm going to finish cleaning up. I mean, there's very little left to do. And I will see you in 2 weeks when we bottle this thing. I had a wonderful time.